On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. You can tell that the pressure is really starting to kick in right now. You can tell that it's starting to get to them. They're starting to make mistakes. They're starting to turn on each other. And this is becoming very obvious to many people. I was just out with some buddies last night, and they're pretty liberal, left-leaning buddies, and even they were talking about some of the atrocities that were going on. Now, I did try to share something else, and I'm keeping it a little vague for a reason, but whatever. And it's something that I think is more of a visual, and it's one of those, if you're open to see it, you'll see it, and if you're not, you don't. And it's kind of one of those fun things. And it was something we shared a while ago. It was an Ice Cube post, and it was comparing the faces of the police officer that killed Floyd. And so again, it was just an interesting thing, and kind of left it at that. They wanted to make it a bigger deal, and it wasn't. But this is one of those places, again, where we're always extending an olive branch to the best of our ability. But at the same time, I'm not going to go running down waters that I don't need to right now. I'm going to kind of wait until they're ready for it. But again, huge changes that I'm already seeing. So we've had, I think, a Democrat representative was attacked by a mob recently. So that's kind of messed up. Certainly not okay. Violence is never okay, but they're even attacking their own. We've got a case where Governor Murphy, we're going to be talking about this in a little bit, is actually in super hot water right now. It looks like they're starting a bit of a investigative inquiry of some kind that is possibly going to lead in all sorts of directions. We're going to cover that. We've also got Shifty Shiff, trying to actually change laws. Now they're actually trying to change laws to hamstring and hamper the president. Now, what's really funny is the deep state's been giving the president ridiculous amounts of power over the past many, many, many years, just throughout the past many, many years. A lot of strange executive orders have happened over and over again. Trump's been actually surprisingly calm, considering how much they want to make him a dictator, or make him out to be one, I should say. So it's interesting how these things are starting to play out and build into a bit of a fiasco, if you ask me. And I think this is, again, one of those things where a lot of people, digital soldiers, are taking the pledge, which is so awesome. And so people are actually coming out and making a difference. People are actually finding these laws when they publish them and making them public, which is going to make this, I think, very tricky for Shift to get this through now. So again, Shift, I think it is. I always want to add the T, whatever. So we're going to get into the posts, and we're going to kind of see how this starts to build and evolve, if you will. 4516. Got a fun little status from Shane here. This is very interesting. This was prioritized or routed, brackets in bold, meaning a target, right? Goog threat analysis. And then you got underscore entry catalog. They got some, they're, I think, pointing into, I think they're almost bragging a little bit, knowing like exactly where this branch of code might be going off into. But whatever the case is, deep dreaming, young dragonfly. So what's going on? So we got this Shane Huntley guy who apparently was, well, he was outside a lunch place in Silicon Valley today. I overhear a middle-aged woman explaining QAnon. Not very smart, can't even type. A woman explaining QAnon to her friend and how it's all part of some grand plan by Trump to rebuild the U.S. government. Jarring to run across this in the real world. I know, in your little bubbles and echo chambers that you're used to living in, you're not used to actually hearing people that critically think, that actually think there's problems with a lot of the stuff that's happening in the world today. You know, that maybe try to ask questions that sometimes might be tricky for people like you to answer. So, yeah, I guess I could see how you might have a problem with that. But again, still showing how they try to label anyone that's part of this Q movement. Now, what's really funny is it has exploded like almost overnight. I want to say in the past 24, 48, maybe 72 hours, a lot has been going on with this movement. And I think the explosion is reaching kind of a critical mass. So I'm expecting the next number of weeks to be very interesting as far as how the evolution of these protests go, how some of these governors are going to be in trouble. There's 5 of them when they get called out. Post 4517. We're in this together. Unity, not division. Where we go one, we go all. And this is pretty awesome. I got a nurse here doing the pledge. You got to love the pledge. Let's check it out.
Good afternoon, digital soldiers. So I always thought that I was just a mom and a nurse, but today it turns out that I get to become a digital soldier. So here we are. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Where we go one, we go all. Take the oath. Pass it on.
I just think that's cool. I think that's super cool that people are doing this, that literally are taking the oath. I mean, we've got a few examples of it. I don't know if I'm going to play all of them, but it's just cool. I mean, these guys are doing some great stuff. This is super cool. I got to admit, I sort of figured it out, but it was pretty cool. And there's a little Twitter thing that we get shared as well. But this is where we go one, we go all. So it's spelling it out. It says where we go one, we go all. Very, very, very cool sign language for that. If you ever need to spell it out to anyone, I don't speak sign language at all, but it's very super cool. Oh, I never opened this. Let's check that out. Cool.
That I will bear true faith and listen to the same. That I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I'm about to enter. So help me God. When we go on, we go all.
That's so awesome, man. Making me tear up a little bit. That's super cool. And obviously he's a major Trump fan. I don't think there's any way around that one. But that's super cool. I can't even tell you. I hadn't seen that yet, actually. Here's another one, 4519. Again, we're not going to play all of it, but, well, yeah, we are.
I, Oracle Exec, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of this office of which I'm about to enter. So help me God. With that said, digital soldiers, where we go one, we go all. Let's go.
Amen. Thank you, Oracle Exec. That is super duper cool. 4520. We've got a fun little thing here from Rogan O'Handley. 45 out of 50 governors did not force COVID-infected patients into nursing homes, but 5 did. Who were they? Let's list them out. Cuomo, New York. Wolf, Pennsylvania. Whitmer in Michigan. Murphy, New Jersey. Newsom, California. Notice how they're the loudest loudmouths of the governors, the ones that are always in the news and trying to make everyone angry. And, oh, gee whiz, they're the 5 that are most responsible for nearly half. 5 governors, half of all COVID nursing home deaths were in these 5 states, whose, these 5 governors were in charge of these 5 states, and everything from the government as far as supplies and testing and everything. I mean, it is everything they could to make it good. New York, they had the hospital ship that went in there. We had in New Jersey, they built this large hospital, which we've got an article that they're going to be talking about that. Again, there was plenty of infrastructure in place to not have to do that, yet they still did. So New Jersey's health department worker slams Governor Murphy's deadly nursing home policies, an unmitigated failure that led to preventable deaths. That's like murder, basically. Right? Or negligence causing murder, which I don't know. There might be some sort of weird manslaughter in there again. That's what I've thought before. I don't think it's actually a murder charge, unless they intentionally did it. And if there's proof of that, oh God, I hope we throw the book at them so hard. But that being said, here's Governor Murphy with the nice concerned look on his face. Scathing letter from the health department insider says New Jersey's pandemic failures led to preventable death. This is an extremely long article, but there was a couple of things that were kind of cool in here. So let's see. The group also questioned whether the administration, in an effort to reopen the economy, was making things up as they proceed or making decisions and justifying them on the back end. That is both dangerous and the worst type of cynical politics, right smack in the middle of the worst pandemic in modern history. Now, I'm not sure who the heck said this. It's in quotes. But anyways, Sweeney and Keene, the recipients of the letter, are Murphy's political adversaries. In the coming weeks, a committee will examine how the administrations responded to the swath of problems that affected different communities across New Jersey, including deaths at the state's long-term care facilities and prisons, the breakdown of aging unemployment systems, and the disproportionate impact on minorities. So this guy's getting hammered right now. They're digging into everything he has done, and they are looking at the economy. They're looking at the state of what they were prepared for, the way he's handled things. This guy is going to be shown, I think, to be someone that is probably should not be in office, definitely not worthy of leadership, and it's going to come out. It is coming out, and people are so furious with him, especially when you think of how small a little state that is. And it's, yeah, anyway. So again, people are starting to see what's going on. Things are happening. I know we hear a lot of loud mouths, 5 governors in particular, loud mouths. But guess what? You act strong when you're weak, and you act weak when you are strong. And who's acting passive and somewhat weak right now? I'd kind of say Trump in a lot of what we've got going on there. And they've also got this new digital soldier movement that's pretty powerful. So again, a lot of good things are happening. And the left is loud, but they're losing it. They're losing the narrative. They're losing control, and it's freaking them out. So of course, right here, they're talking about how Shifty Shiff is actually looking at changing the laws. So we've got this change here to the HR 727 to amend Title 18, United States Code, to prohibit the use of an armed force under the jurisdiction of the Secretary of Military Departments as a posse comitatus or otherwise to execute the laws and for other purposes. Now, they do explain to us what posse comitatus is, and we will get to that in just a moment. I don't know why it's always got to be Latin, but it's fantastic. But all this bill is obviously worth tracking, so let's just give a quick glance right here. So here's the bill. That's what they're talking about. So the posse comitatus, let's cover real quick what that basically is. So the origins of posse comitatus are to be found in domestic law. Black's Law Dictionary defines the term posse comitatus as the power or force of the country, the entire population of a country above the age of 15, which a sheriff may summon to his assistance in certain cases as to aid him in keeping the peace, in pursuing and arresting felons. The Posse Comitatus Act of 18 U.S. Code Section 1385, the original intent of which was to end the use of federal troops to police state elections in former Confederate states, prescribes the role of the Army and Air Force in executing civil laws in states. Now, a couple things about this are kind of interesting. It gets into all this. National Guard are supposed to be exempt, so part of me is wondering if this new change they're wanting to do is even meant to try to eliminate that. But that being said, this is meant to basically hamstring the president's ability to use the military in the case of an uprising or in case of violence, that they don't want them to, the president, to legally be able to use the military. So the Posse Comitatus Act of 18, blah, 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 federal troops was to end the use of federal troops to police state elections in former Confederate states. Now, pursuant to the presidential power to quell domestic violence, federal troops are expressly exempt from the prohibitions of Posse Comitatus Act, and this exemption applies equally to active duty military and federalized National Guard troops. What is Adam Schiff trying to prevent, do you think? If there's more of these riots and the ability for the president to basically say, look, enough's enough, I'm going to take care of putting down the peace. So they're trying to sneak this little law through to hamstring him so he can't. So everything you are witnessing, past and present and future, essentially, centrally revolves around the presidential election of 2020. This is all about regaining power. Win by any means necessary. They will break the law. They will try to change the laws. They will do whatever they can. All assets are deployed. Whatever they can. That's what's going on. That's why the push happened when it did. That's why so many of us recently jumped on the bandwagon because it was time. The tsunami needs to happen, and it's happening now. And so a lot of us are already awakened, and we need to be weary, or not weary, but mindful, I should say, and open hearts to those that are going to be waking up. Because right now they may be upset with you, but maybe in a week, their opinions might start to change as they start to see their cities burned down. Post 4522, which the leader of Antifa even said, it's like, you either do what we say or we're going to continue burning down your city. So it's like, no, that's not a good idea. I don't like that at all. 4522, worth remembering. Why were elderly COVID-19 positive patients pushed into nursing homes, known hot zones, if ample capacity existed to support locally? Can you logically explain why select D-govs made decisions regarding elderly push into hot zones which knowingly contradicted federal guidelines and as well as general common sense? Think annual influenza death rates regarding age groups 65 plus. Evil surrounds us. These are people that knew exactly that it was a bad idea. They knew it was a bad idea, and so they did it anyway. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to create a cover story that they didn't have enough facilities, that it's basically Trump's fault. But what's interesting is there was a $21 million New York City field hospital that closed after never seeing a single patient. This hospital was opened up just days after the UNS Comfort docked at Manhattan Pier 90. Just a couple days after, the New Jersey governor said, we're going to have our own big giant hospital. So to say that about, I don't know, a few days later, 10 days later, I forget the exact dates, then all of a sudden they write these memorandums and shove all these patients. They had beds. They had beds. They had hundreds of beds. This place never even got used. A 350-bed facility only saw 79 patients in the city. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, one, the numbers were a little strange. And then two, they intentionally shoved sick people into the highest risk areas. What the heck? Like that sign, that street sign that they've shown on the bridge. Cuomo killed my mom. I mean, it's very sad. 4523. Twitter, we got a great little Twitter post again. This one's really cool because this gentleman's kind of jacked up, messed up his back. And he's doing the digital thing, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Let's check it out.
Patriots. About 2 years ago, I was in a corporate office grinding away until I discovered Q.
I actually ended up losing internet in the middle of recording this episode. The important thing is to remember, folks, we are digital soldiers. People are taking this oath. This number of people talking about Q, searching about Q is exploding. These numbers are off the charts. We are making an enormous difference. Keep up the work. Keep talking about it. Keep showing facts. Keep demonstrating that we can be calm and have rational discussions with people, that we don't have to necessarily resort to name calling and all these other things. Let's show people what we're made of. Let's step up to the plate and swing the bat, because you know what? This is our time. This is our history. This is our time to unite and be together as one force. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.